Hello listeners, this is Ross from the General Witchfinders. I'm coming to you today from deepest, darkest Cornwall, away on holiday with the family for half term, which means the next episode of the podcast is going to be slightly delayed. So I thought, in order to give you something to listen to while you're waiting for our episode on The Wicker Man, I put together a little clip show for you. This features some bits of conversation from the first three films we covered in episodes 1, 2 and 3. Those are Dracula AD 1972, The Curse of Frankenstein, and A Sapphire and Steel Story. I hope you enjoy this, and if you haven't listened to the whole of these episodes yet, strongly recommend you go and download those. Still available the same place where you downloaded this from. Hope this finds you well, and we will be back with you very soon. Happy day.
Britain. An ancient kingdom with legends of violence, cruelty, and torment in its blood. Join your hosts, Ross, John, and James, as they bravely tread where few would dare. Witness their journey into the horrific history of British horror. They are the General Witchfinders.
John, you sound very posh there. Suddenly you got your telephone voice on.
Yeah, I'm doing what my nan used to do when she'd answer the phone. 515192.
In the grave, Victor Belgium's 4291, which was his phone number.
And I was thinking of, what's the number for All Creatures Great and Small? Farah something?
Oh, God knows.
Anyway.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
Okay,
but this isn't a All Creatures Great and Small podcast. This is a podcast about British horror. We may, if we run out of things to watch, we may. Yeah. Was there a Halloween special of
I really already think that that's probably a better idea for a podcast than what we're going to do, which is where we talk about British TV shows if they had been horror, if there was a horror crossover. Yeah. So the All Creatures Great and Small, where the sheep gives birth to a chimera of, say, a lamb and a gorilla or something like that.
Yeah, and all creatures they're talking about are the creatures in the pit of hell.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
That episode of Metal Mickey when Mickey kind of got possessed by Pazuzu and ran amok.
My notes here are Warner Brothers' old logo, red. So the version I watched on Amazon has had the old Warner Brothers logo removed.
Yes, it was the new one, wasn't it, with the music?
Yeah. So if you remember the old red one, which was like three diagonal blobs.
Yes,
the white. Yeah.
Yeah. Red, white, and black. So the original one was that, and this is what I remember on the VHS version that I recorded, and that started with. So when it started, it had the Dracula. So just to remind you what you're watching.
Your new ringtone?
Yeah. So that's gone now. But the other thing that I've written down is lurid red and great music. So I really liked the... So the music is brilliant at that point.
Yes.
And then obviously you've got the typeface, which is like this lurid red, which is like...
you can't read because it's so over-stylized.
Yeah, I was going to say, a gothic font that you now see in bad tattoos, where people commemorate their poor quality offspring.
Maybe I'll get a red tattoo that says London 1872 on my arm. Or Hyde Park. I can't remember which it says.
Yeah.
So my next notes are Scars of Dracula, bad continuity. It doesn't carry on from the previous film. So the previous film sees Dennis Waterman horrified to see Dracula struck by lightning and tumble off the top of his castle. But then you do have the great jump cut.
Yeah, forget 2001.
Up there with 2001.
Yeah! You have a jump cut to the
Forget
Jimbo
the Dawn
Jet.
of Man.
Yeah.
What we're going to have.
And then they pan down to a load of concrete motorways.
Well, I was about to say, it's a couple of minutes. There was so much going on. I thought, we picked exactly the right thing to start off with. Cue an incredible montage of, shot by cinematographer Dick Bush. Magnificent. Right, of basically the Westway, London's Westway, which would have been newly completed in 1972, featuring like a patent. John's written it down as well.
I've literally written Westway, traffic, London Steakhouse.
Mine says magnificent and enticing shot.
Was the shot of the steakhouse a pun?
What do you mean?
So for like Steak in Dracula. What's the name of the familiar in this?
Johnny Alucard.
Yeah, Johnny.
Yes, Johnny Alucard.
Johnny Alucard, who I thought actually looked quite cool, and I would imagine it's sort of character which would be better played by Malcolm McDowell.
Joanne, what I have written here, Ross, is he's like a proto Alex from Clockwork Orange.
Exactly, yeah.
From the same year.
Something else you're going to like even more is that I've just looked at Blood From, as in the Mummy's Tomb, and the suggestions are blood from anus.
Yes.
Blood from back passage, blood from rectum. None of these are canonical Hammer horror films.
But John, I think we should make Blood from Anus.
That could be a spin-off from our
That's
podcast.
what we should have called the podcast.
It's probably an anagram of something.
Yeah.
Hang on. Blood from the Mummy's
Don't get
Tomb.
Peter Cushing to work it out. It'd take an ages.
And he's obviously never seen one of the Universal Hammer Universal horror films. Well, they also have a character called Alucard.
Yeah. Or any episode of Doctor Who with a master in it.
Did people wear wigs in the 70s?
Yeah, my mum had a wig, which in the house, which I used to wear from time to time.
Whoa. Well, back that one off there, Ross.
Yeah.
You zip past that.
When I used to make
quick.
my Pink Panther costume, which was basically a pair of tights on my legs, cut out the gusset and put my head through that, and then put my arms through the other that were tights, and then dance in front of a mirror in the hall to the music from the Pink Panther.
This sounds like a scene they cut out of Silence of the Lambs, mate.
Yeah. And this is just last year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what we do every Christmas.
Yeah.
Oh, and we also missed the scene where it's in the Stu TV goes through a car wash.
Car
wash. I love the car wash.
They debate
scene.
the merits.
Yeah.
They debate the merits of attending a black mass.
Yeah.
In a car wash.
So you don't see Grace Jones murder Patrick McNee in the same car wash, but it's a similar vibe. You see the guy Joe scares them wearing a rubber mask. So I've written Joe prick in mask.
But he sings a bit of Mungo Jerry as he goes into the church.
Yeah, I said that. Joe hums in the summertime as he's going into the church. And then as they go in, they don't seem to notice or question why the altar, a massive sheet over it, which says D
on it, yeah. Which Johnny Ackland was up all night embroidering. Yeah. James, did you go and see Mungo Jerry?
No. He lives very, very close to me. I can point out he used to anyway. This was a good few years ago now.
He's passed over now, hasn't he?
Oh, no, I think he's still with us, Ray Dorset.
No, I'm sure Mungo Jerry's passed over, James. Sorry to tell you.
I think Ray's still out and about, and his dog, Boogie. That's what his dog was called. Because a friend of mine, who I remain nameless, just because his mum used to walk their kind of dog at the same time, and kind of built up a sort of a fledgling friendship. And this was round about the time that Shaggy had covered in the summertime. And she found out that he didn't mind the cover version because he approved of the money, but he didn't like the fact that they changed the lyrics.
Oh.
So,
Big
I had
payday.
like a Mungo Jerry hotline for a while.
And wasn't it true that Mungo Jerry played Summertime 3 times every time he did a gig down in Dorset?
Oh, sure, cool. But that's like Deep Purple doing Smoke on the Water, isn't it? Like, they open with it, they finish with it, and they encore with it.
Ray Dorset is still alive. I stand corrected. But does he live in Dorset?
Yes, he does. Yes.
So Ray Dorset lives in Dorset.
In Dorset, yes.
That's brilliant. If you're named after a county, you have to live in the county you're named after. If your name is Tim Somerset, you have to live in Somerset.
Brian Kent.
Police go to the Van Helsing household to inform the Stephanie Beecham that the first girl has been killed and to get some more information.
Great scene.
Yeah, and then they recommend that Van Helsing gives his granddaughter a sleeping tablet to put her to sleep.
That bit was mental.
Yeah.
While he's dressed as Keith Richards in 1966. Just give her a sleeping pill.
And then she has
Van Helsing should be fine.
Anita Pallenberg.
So she has like a night, a sweaty nightmare whilst the Johnny Atkins has been turned into a vampire, where then her grandfather comes up and does quite a lot of groping around her breasts in order to put the crucifix
Poor
up on
Christopher
her.
Lee was in mourning, Ross.
Peter Cushing.
Peter Cushing.
Peter Cushing was in mourning. I'm sorry.
Christopher Lee was just a mourning for J.R.R. Tolkien. We've missed the
classic
the anagram.
Right, okay. If you want to extrapolate on that, go ahead.
Okay. Well, there was a moment in which we
Johnny Alucard.
we see Peter Cushing, Peter Cushing as Van Helsing, who we're told is an expert, and we've seen has written numerous books on the occult. So he's clearly not been hit with a stupid stick at all. And we see him writing down Alucard on a piece of paper, and then underneath lines coming out, which then just spell Dracula, even though it's just Alucard is just Dracula backwards.
It's not even an anagram.
It's not even an anagram. He doesn't need to draw the lines.
But it does make a really nice logo for Dracula. And they should have...
Oh, that's our T-shirt. It's the first T-shirt, guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, that's a great idea.
And then he just drops this knowledge on Scotland Yard later.
Yeah.
He says to Detective Murray, oh, and by the way, Alucard backwards is Dracula. Bang! Say that one, Dracula. Came over.
What I really like is you've got this young, lithe, kind of Jagger-esque vampire, and you've got really Grandpa coming in his bow tie,
the cardigan,
is a Harrington Mac, and his cardigan. And he's like, Johnny, where is she? And then he throws what looks like a massive black dildo.
It's one of his black mass candles.
Yeah, it's like he throws a huge black dildo at Johnny Alucard. And then they have this brilliant brawl where Peter Cushing is stabbed, and then he throws a Bible in the coffee table coffin. And then...
I'm working on it.
And then, obviously, the denouement of this whole sequence is Peter Cushing uses a mirror to reflect the sunlight to kind of bash Johnny Alucard into his bathroom, where he goes into his bathroom, pulls the skylight, the room is filled with light, and he falls in the bath, and then he, the old-fashioned vampire cannot cross
running water.
Is a shower, and then he melts in his bath.
Well, doesn't really melt. He gets a little bit of PVA glue on his cheek.
He's got PVA on his face.
Yeah.
But again, my only thought was not like the, oh my God, I just thought, wow, what a bathroom.
Yeah.
Because of that skylight.
And I felt like we could have set up the skylight at some point earlier in the film, so we knew that was going to happen.
It was coming.
Yeah.
However, it was great.
Amazing.
It was a great film.
The bathroom looked fantastic.
The music is brilliant. The pacing is brilliant. The editing is brilliant. The bit where he goes, "You can rot in hell," as he dies in the shower is brilliant. When you see Dracula, you're a bit like, oh, here we bloody go again.
Perfunctory, isn't it? The ending is perfunctory. Stephanie Beecham does nothing these days.
Well, I wouldn't call that nothing, James, in that dress.
Van Helsing goes off to the scene of the murder. No policeman again.
It goes back to the church where there now been two murders. We're not going to put any police around the church.
Look, we've got Our police officers, our dedicated Metropolitan Police officers, are busy going to people who are just crashing parties without invites.
Yeah.
They haven't got time.
8 people at that.
They haven't got
that
time
party.
for murder investigations.
Yeah.
Standing out, there's 2 policemen stood outside the Cavern Club
Where they've been dealing pot. That's it.
where they've been dealing pot and LSD.
Yeah.
But where they've had 2 murders in the church, there's no one there.
Most of that, that's fine. It's done now, isn't it? They're dead.
Yeah.
What
So
else
he goes
can
in
happen
there.
here?
So he digs a hole.
Yeah,
Puts some stakes in the hole.
yeah,
Clever.
Takes
brilliant.
ages covering it up with grass.
Yeah.
Goes and puts the crucifix round her neck again. Tucks it inside her top.
The bosom.
Yeah.
She's in some kind of vampiric stupor
yeah.
at this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A trance, yeah.
Accidentally knocks her bosoms about 3 or 4 times, which wobble quite considerably.
Yeah.
And then waits for the sun to come down.
We don't find out why she's suddenly... we don't find out why or how she's been got to that church all put in a different dress.
Yeah. Or where Dracula is
We don't know where Dracula is.
in
but
the
that's
daytime.
fine.
He disappears.
Yeah.
He says one good line, which I've
Yeah.
forgotten, which is about like I commanded armies or something.
Yeah. So that's you play your brains against mine who have commanded armies of blah 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 blah. That is a line from Dracula the book,
Oh.
and Christopher Lee insisted that was put in the script because otherwise he wouldn't do it because he was too busy doing like films abroad in Spain, getting like $100,000 a film to appear for 5 minutes in a film about like the Marquis de Sade or something like that.
So then they have a slow chase up a spiral staircase.
Yeah, which is quite good, quite atmospheric.
Yeah, but he doesn't need to keep stopping and turning around. And like he's been there for ages setting up this trap out in the graveyard, and then he runs up the stairs. Why?
He's a maverick thinker, Ross.
Yeah. Doesn't attempt
That's what
to get
Dracula
him
would
towards the
expect.
trap. And then I can't remember what happens. Does he just run outside then? Peter Cushing just runs outside.
Yeah.
Then?
Yeah, and then
Falls
falls
over.
over, uncovers the pit covered in
Yeah.
spikes, which
Yeah.
is really badly
Yeah.
covered.
Yeah.
Dracula stands staring at it with his
Yeah.
hair all
Like-
messy,
Hair awry.
and then slips and falls in.
Yeah. But no, he throws holy water over him, doesn't
Oh yes, he does. Yeah,
Does.
And that's when he slips. So he slips, he falls in, and then, surprisingly gory, Peter Cushing hits him with a spade.
to push him through. Yeah, I thought he was going to chop his head off with the spade at that
Yeah,
point.
and then pushes him through, and a big bubble of blood comes out, which I thought was quite surprisingly gory, actually. But
And then we go, rest in peace forever. The end.
it rests
End.
in final peace. I just want to look like a wizard,
Mission accomplished.
or one of wizard.
Wizard.
Is it one of Wizards who tried to engage to Rose West, or was that Slade?
No, Slade. It was. Oh, who's the guitarist?
Ah, super yob. Dave Hill.
Dave
Is it
Hill.
Dave Hill?
Well done,
Yeah.
It is Dave Hill. Yeah.
He tried to get engaged. What,
Rose West, yeah.
Yeah.
pre-Fred.
No, while she's in prison.
You were joking. Whenever I watch a film like this, I like to imagine the kind of extras and kind of whatever they call them these days, you know, the background artists in the 50s, leaving the studio, getting in like some kind of 1950s car and just driving home through the streets of London in the 1950s. And I like to imagine their life outside of the film.
Yeah, was it
And
sort
see,
of take
you know-
away the boring actual watching of the film?
I didn't find it boring, Ross, to be
Okay.
honest.
All right.
Oh dear, another one he doesn't like.
The thing that I've noted down here is that when he starts to recount his tale, I know he's supposed to be arrogant. And I know, you know, that's like the folly, but he starts talking about his own life. And I thought, who does this? He goes, well, you know, as a young man, I always had a brilliant intellect. And immediately, as, you know, I am a teacher, you know, that's my job. I immediately thought, I'll be the judge of that, young man. And I have to say, in terms of the sound and the sound design, I've written down, this sounds like a lot of experimental gigs and art shows that I've been to.
James, were you there when John was a brain in a vat for a philosophy lecture?
No, you've told me about it.
No, we got a cauliflower, put it into a vat with some dry ice and wires.
There was no dry ice in this.
In my memory, there was Dryas, and then John sat underneath the desk.
I was under a desk talking through like a ring modulator to make my voice go like
Dr. Clive. And then he did a whole read out his presentation about why we know we're not brains in vat.
Because I knew what I'd written was absolute rubbish. I thought the only way I could pull the wool over anyone's eyes is to turn this into a performance.
Yeah.
And I don't think I succeeded, to be honest. And I wrote down hands of an artist, the perfect physique, and the mature brain of a genius.
I think it's like the three of us, isn't it? If you put them all together.
Yeah. Who's who, though? Cleaver's the physique.
James is a genius, and you got the hands.
James is the brain, and I've got hands.
We then have that kind of sequence of basically him harvesting body parts to make his perfect human, in inverted commas. Although intersped with that, we then get the arrival of his cousin, who, hold up a minute, we then find out he's going to get married to. And what I've just put here is, did they learn nothing from the Spanish royal family?
My daughter asked me at that point, "Can you do that?" And I was like,
No.
I don't know.
No, don't do that.
Jerry Lee Lewis, the killer, did it, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. It's a good point, well made. But yeah, but then we then also find out
Chased across 3 states. What I've written down is that part basically is the relationship between Rene in Hello Hello and all of his female staff.
Mimi LeBlanc.
Yeah, because she sounds exactly like, oh, Rene. Oh, Victor. Don't call me Victor. Call me Hair Baron.
Hairy Baron.
Hairy Baron.
You stupid woman. Oh, if only Gordon Kay was in there.
The wisest man in Europe, but also its most gullible fool. As he falls for, if you just stand back a bit, you'll be able to see the picture better. What?
Well, I can't stand very far back because this is the smallest set.
Look out, man! At which point he then turns round. He turns 180 degrees for some inexplicable reason, and Peter Cushing pushes him over the stairs.
But it was a pretty good fall. Looked pretty nasty. Obviously, a completely different man hit the ground.
Indeed, I put that he de-aged 70 years during the fall.
But he hit the ground though. His head, he landed face first. Yeah. And this is where my wife said, "Oh, he did full scorpion at that point because his legs backed up over his back." But apparently the stuntman missed the mat on the floor and
added bit,
and hit the real floor and almost killed himself at that point.
Yeah, I've written the fall is genuinely sickening.
Yeah. what the band?
Yeah.
Next up on Frankenstein, working in a lab with a Tesco agreement. No, that's my Marky Smith. We get the classic Frankenstein out in the wild.
Yes, yeah.
And then this is when my daughter got very upset because she was aware that there was going to be a blind man, and she doesn't like the idea of disabled people being hurt in any way. So she said, "Oh, he's going to hurt the blind man. Hurt the blind man." I said, "I don't know if there's a blind man in this one." And then the Crankies came out of a bush. And the older Cranky was blind. I was like, "Oh, maybe he's going to get hurt." First of all, it's a lost property shop. I feel like these only exist in this and Bagpuss. From my little exposure to Sapphire City, it feels that what happens is if old things are brought into the present, that can allow time to break through. So I think that's what's going on in this space. They've had a report of time breaking through in this building, so that's why they've been summoned there to try and fix that.
And this is an idea which I really liked straight away. So they talk about these trigger items, which I thought was really interesting because I'm a big fan of Ghost Adventures with Zach Bagans on, I forget which channel it's on now, 128 on Virgin, whichever one that is. It might be on Really. So Zach
really?
Bagans.
Is that really with a question mark? Or...
it might be, or it might be an exclamation mark. Really? So Zach Bagans is the Ghost Supremo, Ghost Hunt Supremo. They talk a lot about these kind of trigger items. They'll bring an item into a location to try and trigger the ghost interaction. and that's an idea that I really enjoy. So if it's like, if it's American Civil War, Zach Bagans will dress up in like an American Civil War outfit and then walk around in a field.
Yeah.
And then, or maybe lie down on the floor and pretend to be dead in the Battle of Gettysburg or something, and that will obviously bring the ghost back because
obvious.
Well, I've written down time break. I can't really remember what that means, but I quite like the idea. And then I've written down xylophone, oboe music is very Hammer.
Yes.
So the incidental music at this point is really Hammer. It's like on a xylophone, and then on an oboe, which is my kind of music.
Then every so often they would play like a words and pictures sort of.
Well, I was going to say
that
undercut. That's exactly it, Ross. That undercut any kind of dramatic tension for me. Was that every time anything a bit supernatural happened, there was the rising tone of ring, which is exactly the same musical thing they used in the BBC's Rent-A-Ghost. Whenever anyone was doing any form of magic at all, maybe making pantomime horse Dobbin suddenly disappear and then appear in Christopher Biggins' department store. Who knows? But, I was like, ring, oh, blimey, here we go again. Sapphire and Steel find themselves trapped in a photo. And bearing in mind, this show went out primetime TV. A large chunk of the final episode is just a picture of a photograph. and the camera just shifting left to right, indicating who's talking. I thought,
amazing.
They wouldn't do this now. This really wouldn't happen. And when we find out that, the nemesis of the show is someone who can move through any photograph in the world, Joanna Lumley goes, "Can we follow him?" And I've just written, "Not on this show's budget." No, that's not going to happen. But I thought, now if you were making it now, that's exactly what would happen.
Yes.
And it'd be far more cool and like diving through different dimensions of pictures and all the rest of it. Whereas now it's like, no, we just have to hold up the same 4 pictures over and over again.
I think this is where the guy starts coming up the stairs.
Yes.
And then he disappears. But then
Ring.
Sapphire can make time go backwards. She's trying to make this guy reappear on the stairs so they can see what he looks like.
Yes.
Again, Steele is just
Shouting at her.
Bellowing at her to
Bring
make it
Bring
happen.
it back!
And she's having trouble doing it. But for me, that was one of the few parts in it which I felt was actually quite spooky. The sound, the lo-fi effects at that point were kind of like... I said to Beck, sorry, listeners, I keep referring to my wife when I'm doing
the
this
good
podcast.
lady wife.
Yeah, so, but this is someone I watch television with. I said either television from this sort of period has got an uncanny semblance to what my nightmares are actually like, or my nightmares have been shaped by watching television at this sort of period when I was very impressionable.
Yeah, yes, that's interesting.
So what that looked like and what that sounded like is the kind of things I wake up from.
Oh, and the setting as well, like the dingy kind of stairs.
That type of stairway is constantly recurring in my dream.
I'd love to live in a house that looked like that. But then there's this bit where David McCallum is holding a photographic print, and that starts glowing with heat.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. He's surprised by hot paper.
Yeah.
But that is the front projection reflective stuff, which I can't remember the name. I think it's called Mylar or something like that. And you shine a light at it, and it will reflect directly back into the camera lens, making stuff look very, very hot or reflective. So if you remember, guys, the cover of Slade in Flame.
Who doesn't?
All of Slade has stood there in very, very reflective clothes for the brilliant film Slade. But actually, is the film just called Flame? Or is it called Slade in
Flame?
There was also a kid. Do you remember that advert for about get yourself seen? Yeah. There was a kid
Absolutely.
had like a silver suit, which I really, really wanted when I was growing up.
I think it's the same kind of stuff. So that's like a theatrical effect.
Can be seen late at night.
Use some tape
if you like. And get yourself seen. Sorry.
At night, make it white. In the dark, make it light. at your treasure and get yourself seen. Make it big, make it bold, make it right, and get yourself seen.
And get yourself clean as well.
Get yourself clean. That's what haunts my dreams. But how they conveyed this was just by talking like this. I don't know, really.
And again, it was just a close-up on a bloody...
just of a photo.
There was also lots of people sitting around listening to it, and I thought that was quite creepy, that you're just watching people listening to a voice.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds crap, but it was quite creepy for me.
Well, I did find it immensely creepy, yeah, because it's if you can maintain an atmosphere with the bare minimum of stuff, which is literally a photo and some people looking at a photo, you're doing quite a good job. You know, these days it would be massive pumping music, people screaming. Like, to digress slightly, I remember where the BBC redid Terry Nation's Survivors.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
In the noughties. I can't remember when in the noughties now. And some TV documentary compared the start of that, the original, which I think was like 1974, 1975, something like that, to the start of the reboot. So the original, when the woman wakes up and finds that Peter Bowles is dead, her husband is Peter Bowles, he's dead, she goes outside, and then it's like a crane shot looking down on her, and then they compare it to the 2005 version or whatever it was. It's a totally different thing. Massive crash zoom on her face, she's screaming. Like, the music is like, da, 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 da. Whereas the original one is just like this woman going outside, and it's totally silent. And the impact when she realizes she's in a dead world.
Silence is more effective.
Yeah. The key part of it is silence, because you're watching a bloody visual thing, so you don't need this constant like.
They find some pictures where the landlord of the house has been putting old pictures and new pictures together, and they said that is what released him. Not only that, it was also him building a giant kaleidoscope machine, which is so he can recreate the title sequence of Strictly Come Dancing in his own. But apparently this is what he was doing to impress the young girl.
Yeah, all girls are impressed by photographic techniques, aren't they, John?
Well, yeah. What they love is a like a slide sandwich put through a kaleidoscope. Everyone loves that.
You have been listening to The General Witchfinders. Support the show and continue the conversation at patreon.com/General Witchfinders. Subscribe and spread the word at generalwitchfinders.com. Farewell, and don't have nightmares.